At 2:43 a.m., the HR server of a global investment firm received a login that didn't exist. No one authorized it, yet someone was inside. No money was taken, no records erased. Still, something shifted. Tiny rearrangements, the kind that makes a person question their own memory, their own perception. They called him the Phantom. Nobody knew his face, nobody knew his real name, but he left a signature sharper than code. Small tremors in behavior, subtle data misalignments, quiet disruptions that eroded certainty. By day, he blended in perfectly, just a consultant, a face in the hallway no one remembered. But by night, he stretched beyond ordinary boundaries. He mapped weaknesses of systems, of people, and pressed on them with surgical precision. He started small, gentle nudges, a misplaced decimal, a lie buried in an email thread, a miscalculation that seemed like human error. By morning, managers fought over numbers that had never betrayed them before. Executives doubted decisions they were once sure of. And through it all, the Phantom remained unseen, orchestrating chaos with a steady hand. Then came the opportunity. A tech conglomerate preparing a merger worth billions. A single decision with the power to shift markets, destroy careers, and redraw the corporate map in seconds. And that kind of power was irresistible. But the Phantom saw the fractures beneath it. He studied everything. He mapped out 1,000 futures, each one waiting for the smallest push to collapse. It was the perfect stage. But how far could a man bend reality without ever being seen? Every night, the Phantom learned more. Slowly, the people inside the merger became predictable, manageable, shapeable. And the thrill of it, clean, sharp, intoxicating, pulling him deeper. But every mind he touched left a faint echo on his own, and the Phantom began to sense that the world he controlled so effortlessly might be starting to control him. The Phantom began his operation in earnest. Each email became a thread in a web only he could see. Inconsistencies slipped in quietly. By midweek, the cracks spread. Employees confronted each other about tasks they swore they had finished. He didn't touch the accounts. He didn't need to. Control was perception. Control was fear. Control was uncertain. But then, resistance. A junior analyst. Quiet, sharp-eyed, the kind of mind that noticed patterns others stepped over. She saw a rhythm in the chaos, too deliberate, too clean. She flagged it as an anomaly and filed a report before dawn. For the first time in years, the Phantom felt tension, an unwelcome pulse beneath the calm. Someone was watching him. The hunt had begun. He escalated. Ghost accounts appeared overnight, perfect mirrors of real employees. The company began to fracture inward, collapsing under a pressure no one could trace. But the pressure bled into him too. With each success, something shifted in his mind. He started doubting the edges of his own identity. The personas he had built for the operation felt more solid than the one he lived with. Paranoia followed him like a breath. Was the analyst the threat? Or was she only the first sign of something bigger? Was he losing his grip while tightening everyone else's? Then came the twist. A presence entered the network, silent, confident, precise. This operator moved like he did, anticipating responses, shaping outcomes, threading influence through digital shadows, but sharper, hungrier, less restrained. For the first time, the Phantom was not the predator. He was the prey. Every move he made carried risk. Every countermeasure felt exposed. His patterns, his once flawless patterns, were being used against him. The network he bent to his will now echoed with footsteps he didn't recognize. They didn't simply interfere, they learned. Late one night, he watched the screen as foreign traces bled through the code, echoes of decisions he had never made. Every action he executed was mirrored. The web he spun wasn't his anymore. For the first time, he understood the cost of manipulation. He had carved pieces of himself into the system, and now those fragments had returned, sharper than he remembered, aimed at him. The shadow he became was no longer under his control. The merger boardroom had detonated hours ago under invisible weight, but far from the noise, in a dark apartment lit only by a single monitor, the Phantom waited in silence. He didn't breathe. He listened. The world he had shaped in secret was tearing itself apart. Executives argued over corrupted files. Lawyers whispered about internal breaches. Whole divisions questioned their own sanity. His fingerprints were everywhere, yet nowhere. A masterpiece unraveling exactly as intended. But he was no longer watching them. He was watching it, the rival operator, his equal, his mirror, his threat. The one who had slipped between his lines of code without leaving a single flaw. The one who had forced him into the shadows he usually hunted in. The one who had taken the identity he weaponized and turned it against him. Tonight, the Phantom wouldn't attack. Tonight, he would survive. He began the purge. Accounts erased, access keys burned. Shadow identities cut loose like dead limbs. Folders vanished from the network, signatures dissolved, ghost profiles collapsed in real time. Everything he had ever built destroyed by his own hand. He felt none of it. No loss, no regret. Only the precision of a man dismantling a life before it's used against him. But then, a flicker. A single file refused deletion. Not protected, not encrypted, just waiting. His heartbeat slowed. The ghost operator had left something for him. A message without words. A trap without triggers. A reflection without glass. Inside the untouched file was code. His style. His structure. His cadence. Rewritten with someone else's hand. Not mocking him. Not challenging him. Understanding him. And that terrified him more than exposure ever could. It meant the rival didn't want his secrets. They wanted him. He closed the file, shut down the monitor, sat in the dark until the room felt unfamiliar. For the first time in years, the Phantom felt truly hunted, but fear sharpened him. Fear made him think faster, clearer, colder. He wasn't disappearing. He was evolving. He began crafting something new, leaner, quieter, impossible to trace. Not an identity, not a persona, a signal, a pulse through the wires, carrying only what he allowed it to carry. One thought, one intention, one directive. Survive, adapt, return. By sunrise, he was gone. Not dead, not defeated, just untethered. His apartment emptied, his server wiped. His existence dissolved into static and cold air. Yet in the networks he once controlled, faint traces of him lingered, subtle rhythms in the code, remnants of a mind that refused to disappear. Across the firm, people hesitated over decisions they once made confidently. Analysts found anomalies no one could explain. Executives woke with the uneasy sense of being observed. His influence lived on, quiet, patient. Deep in the global network, a flicker pulsed. A familiar pattern threaded through the untouched systems. Logs shifted, files realigned. Screens glowed at 3 a.m. with activity no human triggered. Something had returned. Not the Phantom as he was. Something rebuilt in the dark. Unbound, unseen. He was no longer a man behind a keyboard. He was the hesitation in a system, the error in a calculation, the silence before a breach. And when he struck again, no one would see him. Not until it was far, far too late.